Husbands start jarring at each other, and about 5 minutes into this back and forth and trying to settle and trying to calm them, one of the husbands gets up, walks around me, and goes over to the other gentleman sitting down and pushes him in his chair.
What?
He pushes himself out from the table and immediately takes a swing at this guy.
Oh my!
And this is right in the registry of deeds. So, I mean, everyone is watching this, right? Between the two men, and I say, it's time to settle down. This is crazy. We're buying a house. We'll figure this out. There's nothing to get this upset about. And I get them both to walk away from each other and sit down. The gentleman who got hit, his wife starts yelling at me, telling me I'm unprofessional because I raised my voice to tell him to stop their fighting. So that was always the funnest one because it was just so out of character for real estate closings. Real estate closings are generally really happy.
What's up? It's J. Lucky Henry. And now, you know what this is. This is real street talk. So I went out to the streets, got a real estate professional, different than a real estate agent, someone who I may work alongside, but someone who has the answers to get you. So today's big question is, what is a good real estate attorney? Let's talk about what makes one good, how much do they charge, where can you find one? This is Robert Guida, and he's going to do real street talk with us today. Thanks for having us, Robert. Let's go right into it.
In a perfect world, they would get an attorney when they start looking for a home, that they'd already be working with a real estate attorney. But one of the problems is attorneys aren't easy to find, and people are worried about cost, and they're worried about who is a real estate attorney and how do you know the difference, who grades them for you, so to speak. So in reality, we really don't come into the transaction until after the offer is signed. That's been the way since I've been in this business. And mainly, what I would say is the best way to get an attorney is from a referral source like yourself.
Okay.
The real estate agent is a great referral source. They're going to have a team of attorneys that they work with, right?
Yeah.
The originators sometimes give us referrals as well. From reality, I've learned that when you come in generally after the offer, and anything that's already been done on that contract, you manage and you work with.
So now, why do people give you referrals, you think? Like, because you're a good attorney, I imagine? Or is it because they like you? Is that smile?
I think it's a little bit of both.
A little bit of both?
You have to have a relationship.
Okay.
You have to be able to work together well.
Now, if I'm the consumer, right, I could have questions. I could say, maybe, Lucky's just referring me to this guy because they play golf together, and Lucky doesn't want to upset his golf partner. How does a consumer know they're getting a good real estate attorney?
Well, one of the first things they should do is, once a referral comes in, you should have contact from the real estate attorney, and the real estate attorney should say, hi, I'm Robert Guida, and I work with Lucky, and I'm here to help you through the process, and you should describe the process. The consumer should be asking, are you a real estate attorney? Because like I mentioned earlier, specialty is the name of the game. A general practitioner, a litigator, okay, someone who does corporate law, they're really not capable of handling real estate no more than I could handle litigation or corporate law these days. It's everything specialized. So that's really one of the things you want to say. And to the point of whether we golf or not, maybe we do.
I mean, maybe.
However,
I'm not saying I'm Tiger Woods.
I'm not much of a golfer, but anyway, really, what we find is if you do not have good referral partners in real estate, you'll quickly lose business. There's just no two ways about it. You're not going to refer someone who can't do a good job for you. It doesn't work that way. We have to have competent people.
That's true.
Or it's just not going to be good for your business nor mine.
Yeah.
So and that's what I would say in terms of, how do you find that real estate attorney?
No, that's very true. And why are you guys so hard to find? This is just for me to know. Why are you guys so hard to find?
We're lousy advertisers, I think.
Oh my God, you guys don't put your face anywhere.
Yeah, we're not chasing an ambulance. So, yeah.
That's funny.
So unlike real estate agents, attorneys don't necessarily advertise as much. So you're not going to see their face everywhere, as attractive as they may be. However, you do know that when a real estate agent or some other professional in the industry recommends you to a real estate attorney, it's not because they're just their favorite person. It's because we confidently can say that they do good work. Of course, the choice is always up to you who you choose. Now, when the real estate attorney comes in, what exactly are they doing? We know that they're good at law and writing contracts, but it's a real estate transaction. So how many contracts could there be in a real estate transaction? I know the answer. Do you? I know who else knows the answer. It's Robert, so let's take a look.
Well, it's basically anywhere from 2 to 5 contracts, depending upon what you have going on. And from the legal standpoint, it's generally 2 contracts. It's your offer and your purchase. Okay? If you include the contracts you make with the real estate agent, you know, you're
That's
talking.
an important one.
Yeah, that's a very important one, extremely important one. You're talking, you know, 3, 4 contracts. If you have something that comes up during negotiations and the purchase and sale aspect of it, you may have a third repair or replace type of agreement, which is also a contract. So it really depends situationally, but in general, it's, you know, it's 2 to 4 contracts per transaction.
Okay, so I'm spinning around in circles because some buyers sometimes feel like they're going in circles when they make a contract to buy the property,
Yeah.
and then they have to do another contract to buy the property again.
The offer and the purchase and sale.
The
yeah?
purchase and sale. What exactly is the difference between them? Like, what's purchase and sale?
Your offer is essentially saying to someone, here's the terms that I'm willing to give you to consider and accept my offer should you want to work with me in terms of selling your house.
Okay.
So it's very general and it's not as detailed.
Okay.
It is still a contract though.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of case law that states a transaction can be enforced through just a contract to purchase or an offer to purchase.
Mm-hmm.
They're the same term.
Okay.
What the purchase and sale does is once the offer is signed, you then go into inspection, right? And then you go into your mortgage contingency. So what the offer does is it lines up the next step, which is to go into the purchase and sale. The purchase and sale then takes over from the offer and basically lays out the terms of what you had decided on, what you agreed to, and what you negotiated in a much more detailed and elaborate form. And that's really what the purchase and sale does, is it gives you more specific answers to the scenarios and the possible potential pratfalls that could happen in a real estate transaction.
I get it. So basically, a contract to purchase is like putting a ring on a finger. It's like getting engaged, and the purchase and sale is like actually
diamond
getting
ring.
married. It's like
Yeah.
really sealing the deal because.
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, that's it.
Yeah,
That's a pretty good.
that's the way it goes.
Okay, so we talked about relationships and contracts and how they might be kind of similar. I must say, it was an on-the-spot analogy. I literally like it. Spot on, but also came up with it on the spot. So the next thing we're going to talk about is you understand why you need a real estate attorney, right? You understand what they're going to do. The real question is how much is it going to cost you?
Sounds expensive.
Yeah, it's not really. Right now, our fee on a closing disclosure is only going to be between $600 and $800, and that includes your title exam, that includes your municipal lien certificate, it includes your plot plan, it includes all of the payoffs. So there's an awful lot that goes into this small fee. It really isn't. When I started in 1987, the fee was probably double that, and then all the other items are itemized. So that's just the change in the way the business has evolved over time. But it's in that range. $600 to $800 is what you'll generally be quoted for a closing as the buyer.
And what about the seller?
The seller pays $895 as a flat fee. That's always been my charge for the last 5 years, and it really works out well. And in the seller's side, we have to review the title and prepare the deed. Generally, a power of attorney. We're going to get the payoffs and all the documentation that the closing attorney will need so that they can put the transaction together for closing.
So basically, saying both sides in a party, whether buying or selling, should both have an attorney?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Now, who's a closing attorney? How many attorneys are needed in one transaction?
Generally, you're going to have at least 2. All right. You're going to have an attorney to represent the buyer and or bank, so they maybe have a dual role in that case. And the seller should also have an attorney. There is occasion when a buyer is going through a bank and the seller decides not to use an attorney. In that case, the bank attorney, otherwise known as a closing attorney, will pretty much do all the stuff on the seller's side that the seller should do. But that seller will be charged a fee as well.
Now,
Same
does that
from the closing attorney?
when is that something, let's say a seller does go that route, right?
Yeah.
And they decide to use the attorney that the buyer is basically, or the bank is using, right?
Yeah.
They're paying for it now, but is that attorney actually representing them? Is he representing both parties?
No. In that case, it's clear that the seller does not have an attorney. You'll have an email or something in writing that basically says, seller is not using an attorney, that the closing attorney is going to be doing the job to transact this entire closing both on the buyer side and seller side. The fee to the seller is just to prepare the documentation that's necessary. It's not representing the seller at all. There's not an engagement letter that goes out to that seller. It is literally preparing the requisite documents like a deed, a trustee certificate or a 6D certificate or whatever's necessary on the seller's side, plus their payoffs and any sort of readings and last minute numbers that we need to put the transaction together. But no, you're not representing the seller, just the bank and the buyer.
So it's kind of just like almost the same situation, like if a buyer comes into an open house, right, that a listing agent has, and they want to buy it and they're unrepresented. Like, yeah, the listing agent does all the work, but he or she is not actually representing the buyer. They're representing the seller.
Exactly.
So now you have an idea of what the range for your pricing could look like. So let's move into some of the more common issues that arise. Now, this is not to say that having an attorney stops these from arising, but having an attorney definitely helps you work through these. Because these are some scary issues I wouldn't want to deal with without an attorney. So we asked him, what are the most common issues and how do you solve them?
All right, so 1987, right? Not to date you again, but I'm sure you've seen tons of transactions.
Yeah. I probably 15,000 plus, 20,000 plus at this point.
So what are some of the most common issues? What are some of the things people overlook, or some of the most common things people should be prepared for in a closing? Buyer or seller?
In these transactions, the most common issues that really arise are walkthrough issues, negotiation issues, and then title issues.
Okay. What are walkthrough issues?
Walkthrough issues are, when it comes time to actually get to the closing table and the buyer's doing a last minute look at the house, once the seller's moved out, that they find maybe speakers in the wall that they were expecting to be there are now gone. Or there was a piece of furniture and they moved the furniture, now there's a hole in the wall. Or there's trash and rubbish and all kinds of items out in the yard and in the garage and so on and so forth. And so, first of all, you got to really deal with that quick. Those are generally closing day issues you're dealing with. Okay. Do you hold back money to make sure the work is done? How do you find a quick resolution? All right. Title issues, they're the most serious, really. When it boils down to it, the title issues are really where the rubber meets the road. And in Massachusetts, we have attorneys reviewing title, and that's really where you have to have someone who knows what they're doing. So the title issues, they can either completely halt a closing, they can delay a closing, or if you're adept at being in this industry and knowing titles, they can be resolved rather quickly if you have someone who knows that end of the transaction. That's really your attorney's most important function, is clearing title and delivering clear and marketable title, which is the legal term for the buyer getting all that the seller has. Okay. And then last is the negotiation issues. The right up front, signing the purchase and sale. I'll tell you, just in today working on a purchase and sale, you can spend 2 hours trying to just negotiate two sentences from an offer that an agent wrote to make it come out actually the way that it's intended, because the language isn't quite what you can put into a contract.
Are you blaming us agents for getting in the way and trying to pretend to be attorneys?
We work together all the time. They have a thought and a negotiation and agreement. Now you have to put it into language that all the parties can understand, and if it ever need be, could be interpreted in court if there was ever a disagreement. So.
Now, we already talked about how attorneys are not that good at advertising, so I kind of had to twist his arm even to get him to do this video. And I really twisted his other arm just to get him to tell you why he is a really good choice if you do decide to choose him for a real estate attorney for your next transaction.
Well, a few reasons. Certainly, knowledge and experience. Okay. Over the course of years, doing as many closings as I've done, being in situations both good and bad. The ones you learn from and the ones that you take what you learn from and make someone very, very happy. Okay. there's been a lot of that. You know, I've had some ups and downs through the career, as any real estate attorney has, because it follows so much of the economy. So you really learn how to be adept. You really learn how to make people comfortable with what you're doing. And my background has been exclusively real estate. I did titles for over 10 years. Not a lot of attorneys can say that. You know, so I was in the registry of deeds, looking up the titles, reviewing titles, putting titles together. That's helped a tremendous amount. My co-op experience helped a tremendous amount. So I really got off on a good start, and I had some great mentors.
Okay.
So this has been another episode of Real Street Talk, where we take real estate professionals, we go out to the streets, we take a walk, and we answer questions you might have about their profession. Hope this was informative. Please comment below any questions you want to see answered, any feedback you'd like to have, or maybe even the next professional you'd like to see me take a walk with so you can get some answers, right? As always, it's J. Lucky Henry. It's been real. Had a great time. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. All right, see you later.